Indie development is tough, like absurdly tough, and anybody who's tried it knows it. You're balancing coding, art, marketing, social media, bug fixes, community management, mental health, optionally, all at once. And while there is a ton of good advice out there for indie devs, things like make your game fun, test with players early, focus on polish, or try to get exposure online, there's one single practice that can wreck everything you've worked for, and I mean absolutely destroy any chances of your game being successful. And before I talk about it, 96.5% of you guys aren't subscribed. Anyway, it's putting your game in a bundle. Now, I'm not just talking about the Humble bundle, though they're the most famous example. The problem isn't just Humble, the problem is bundles as a concept. Ever wonder why bundles are trash? You'll get it right here, folks. A bundle is essentially a collection of game keys sold at a massive discount. You throw your game in, a dozen other games go in, and consumers get it all for, say, $5, $10, $15. Ridiculously cheap. And as an indie dev and a consumer, that sounds amazing at first. For the developer, you get exposure and more players and more wish lists. And for the consumer, you get more games for less money. It's like a win-win for both the studio and the consumer. But here's the thing, it stopped being a win-win a long time ago. And it all comes down to one group of people. Resellers. These are not your average gaming consumers. These are people who buy bundles, sometimes a bunch of copies of bundles, and then resell the individual keys on gray market platforms like G2A, Instant Gaming, Kingwin, or others. And the prices they sell for will be something that you will never ever match. Your game that you put in a bundle for $15, suddenly somebody on G2A is selling it for $2 or $3 or $6 or $7. $2 to $3. It's absurd. You are never ever going to compete with that because you want to make money. You're obliterating the value of the game before it even hits this market. And it doesn't just hurt your sales, it can literally cost you money. You see, many of these purchases on gray market sites are made using fraudulent credit cards. People get their cards stolen, buy the games, and then dispute the charges. Who pays? Not Steam, not the gray market platform, not the individual hacker. You do. You, the indie developer, the one who made the game. Suddenly, you're not just losing legitimate sales, you're paying chargeback fees. And if that happens at scale, look at the Factorio devs, you could be bleeding hundreds up to thousands of dollars. Like, what do you mean? Obviously, the perceived value tanks from all of this. Why buy for $20 when I can buy with $3 because the game is on G2A or Instant Gaming? The perceived value of the game tanks. More importantly, it takes away legitimate sales from you. And if the keys are basically tainted with illegal money, you're getting paid chargeback fees too. It's a lose-lose-lose scenario for everybody except the reseller of the key. Don't take my word for it, take it from these people. The Factorio developers literally said that piracy was preferable to people buying through gray market resellers. Why? Because fraud and chargebacks are a direct hit to the studio. That is absurd when you think about it. Devs are basically telling players to pirate their own game illegally rather than support the studio the wrong way. That's how damaging these resellers can be. Or take tinyBuild, well-known indie publisher. They reportedly lost nearly $500,000 because of individual Steam keys ending up on gray market sites after they made their own tinyBuild bundle. This is not hypothetical. These are actual losses of hundreds of thousands of dollars. And once your game's price has been smashed at these platforms, how can you ever sell it full price again? You can't. Your game is effectively devalued in perpetuity. That's called pricing power destruction, and it's one of the most insidious ways gray market resellers hurt indie devs. And once again, if your game appears in a bundle, the keys can continue circulating on these gray market sites for months or even years. Old bundles, old giveaways, they all end up in resellers' hands eventually. Your full price launch is effective. Your sales during Steam sales or discounts are impacted. Your hard work is constantly undermined by cheap copies floating around. It also hurts your reputation. Once your game is associated with $2 keys on G2A, some players see it as a cheap or worthless game regardless of the quality. That perception sticks, and it's very hard to shake. So, why did bundles ever exist? Why did developers like them in the first place? Well, look at Kupo Games. Back in the day, I had a Q&A with Kupo Games, developer of Epic Battle Fantasy. I am on the Discord message over there. Hey, back in the early 2010s, bundles were amazing, especially Humble Bundle. They offered huge exposure, helped small studios reach audience they couldn't otherwise afford to market to, and gave upfront revenue without the need for publishers. They were perfect for the indie ecosystem at the time. But gray market resellers have completely destroyed that model. And that's why most indie developers don't bundle anymore. G2A, Factorio devs, tinyBuild, many more. It's not about just losing the revenue, it's about losing the control of your price of the game in the first place. You'll lose the game's integrity. You cannot compete with $2 gray market keys, no matter how much you offer. And once again, flood of cheap keys undermines the sales. You're going to be affected for months or years. So if you're an indie developer, here's the takeaway. Don't do bundles. Do not let gray market resellers dictate the price of your game. Don't devalue your hard work. Don't risk massive chargebacks. Protect your game, protect your revenue, and for the love of God, protect your sanity. Bundles might have been good once. They're not anymore. Not in 2025. Bundles are performing like Celtics Shaq right now. Not for anybody trying to make a sustainable game business. This is one of the worst, if not the worst, decision you can make as an indie developer. And it's shocking how often people ignore it. Don't be that developer. Don't fall into the trap of bundles. Protect your game. And never, ever, ever let your game get sold on a gray market resale site because of a bundle. Alright guys, I'm chilling and I'm out. See you guys.